for kids that are looking to become artists themselves or work in the arts or whatever. The medium of video allows an insight into the artist's working space as well. You can see what the studio looks like, you can see how they get about making their things. And that's immensely important, I think, especially for would-be makers. So they get a sense of how you would become an artist. Because for some, for a kid who's wanting to work in the arts or become an artist, they really don't have any idea until they start to do it. And that's when, for a lot of them, they arrive at art school. But to nurture those ambitions early, it's incredibly useful for them to get a sense of what it is to be an artist. Because up until then, it's just an idea.
I think you said to me at one stage you still get kids walking in here who think, artists work in an atelier from 1900s in Paris somewhere.
Yeah, there's very much that idea that art happened in, 1920s in Paris, and it's sort of more or less finished since then. But of course, it's incredibly vibrant here, and there's a lot of it going on. Those sort of romantic ideas and historical ideas of what art is actually have very little to do with the way art's practiced now. And so again, for kids that want to become artists, they need to click in with what's actually the case, how it works. And likewise for anyone who wants to work in the art or has arts rather, or has an interest in it, it's time to update your understanding of it. I think video is the kind of medium of both the present and future. If you'd said to me 5 years ago that YouTube would have taken off, I would have, been incredibly sceptical, because I just thought, well, who, A, how are you going to deliver the thing, and B, who's really going to be interested in watching a whole lot of videos? But, in both points I was proven wrong, and so there is a way to deliver it, but also it is incredibly information rich in many ways. That's much, again, if you're looking at, say, going into an artist's studio, to describe that, to convey the information that's there about the way the artist has set up the space, the way they work, how they interact in the space, the processes of making and so forth, to describe that in a literary sense would take forever and not give you the richness of information that a simple 10-minute video can provide. So it is an immensely useful way to convey information. Video is incredibly important because you get a huge amount of information that's very difficult to convey otherwise. So that's great and very important. One of the drawbacks I find with that is that unlike a transcript or a book, you can't quickly scan the thing to find the part of information that you want and then hone in on that. If you're doing, rather, you have to sit there and watch the whole video. Now, you were talking about a program that you were thinking of incorporating.
That's going to be available from the beginning of next year, which is called CQ, and it's searchable transcript, so the video runs with the transcript underneath it. You click on the word you search the word you want, and maybe it's Stephen Haley.
Yeah.
It will take you instantly to that Stephen Haley video, and at that point where you want it to be.
Yeah, so that's perfect, because that overcomes one of the real problems of video. I mean, I've done some assessment things where people presented their descriptions of their work in video, so you have to sit there for 5 minutes and watch the whole thing. Where if you had something like that, you can get to the crucial points quickly, so it becomes very useful as a research tool. In the same way, like, you wouldn't, if you're looking up some particular thing in a book, you go to the index to find that thing rather than read the entire book. So that makes it actually a very useful research tool.
In terms of the iBooks as an addendum, if you like, do you think that's got a use as well in terms of putting everything into one place?
Yeah, well, that's the advantage of the iBook model, I suppose, is that everything is in the one place rather than having to jump around a website and try and find disconnected bits. If you can present them all as one. I mean, I see what you're doing with the DVDs and the website and the program, and if they can all be collated together in some way, so that the iBook or whatever other platform you can find, then that's ideal, because you've got multiple access points for the information that you need. Like, you know, assuming you've got a research student or somebody who's just interested, rather than make it difficult for them jumping all over the place, if they can go to the one spot and then it's linked and nearby, ideal resource.
Okay.
Also, you know, one of the things with your program, I think, is that a lot of this stuff is very difficult to find. You know, that interviews directly with artists are really rare, because the only ones that are about are largely like the ABC used to do the odd thing or two, and when they do it now, it tends to be enormously overproduced and based on one set of work, or and it tries to tell a kind of documentary story. What you really, you know, as an artist, what I'm interested in seeing is how artists go about making their work and what they think about their work directly. You know, not their entire backstory about how they like their dog and so forth. You know, I want to get to the nitty gritty, and that stuff is rare, especially in Australian context, because most of the art writing and interest is actually in the contemporary arena, is in international artists rather than local. So it's a poverty-stricken area in many ways. And yet it's essential for anyone who wants to work in the area, because they're going to work here.